There are times in life when we feel utterly alone, cut off from the warmth of companionship, burdened by silence, and overwhelmed by an invisible weight. It is tempting in such moments to believe we have been abandoned, left to wander in a desolate wilderness. Yet, I urge you to reconsider this view. For what if your isolation is not a sign of neglect but an act of profound love and divine purpose? Isolation, though painful, often serves as the soil in which growth takes root. Think of a seed planted deep in the earth. It is buried, surrounded by darkness, and seemingly forgotten. Yet, in that stillness, the seed undergoes a transformation. It breaks open, takes root, and begins to reach for the light. In the same way, your isolation may be the beginning of something new, a process of transformation designed by God to help you grow into the person you are meant to be. Pain and solitude have a strange way of clarifying what truly matters. When all distractions are stripped away, we are left to face ourselves and, more importantly, to turn our gaze upward. It is in these moments of stillness that we rediscover our dependence on God. He uses these quiet seasons to whisper truths we cannot hear amid the noise of daily life. Trust in Him, for His ways are higher than ours, and His plans for you are good, even when they are hard to see. Remember, fire refines gold, and trials refine the soul. God may be using your isolation to prepare you for a purpose greater than you can imagine. He is not punishing you but strengthening you, shaping you into a vessel capable of carrying the blessings and responsibilities that lie ahead. Consider how often great leaders and thinkers were forged in solitude, time set apart to listen, to learn, and to grow. Do not despair, for isolation is often a sign of preparation, not punishment. When a potter crafts a vessel, there is a period where the clay must sit alone, untouched, and still. This is not the end but a necessary pause before the masterpiece is revealed. Trust that your Creator is at work, molding and shaping you for a future filled with purpose and light. Cling to hope. The darkest nights give birth to the brightest mornings. Whatever storm you are weathering, know that it will not last forever. God sees you, loves you, and is with you. Let His promises anchor you in the tempest, and hold fast to the assurance that joy comes in the morning. Understanding isolation as a divine purpose. Isolation is one of life's most challenging experiences, yet it is often misunderstood. Many view it as abandonment, a painful void where connection and purpose seem absent. However, what we perceive as desolation can, in fact, be an intentional act of divine guidance. Just as a master artist steps back to refine their creation, so too does God work on us in moments of solitude. These seasons are not arbitrary but deliberate, a sacred pause in the rhythm of life meant to accomplish a higher purpose. In moments of isolation, we are stripped of the noise and distractions that typically surround us. Modern life, with its endless demands and ceaseless chatter, rarely allows us to sit in quiet reflection. Yet, this very quietness is essential. When the constant clamor fades, we begin to hear whispers of truth, messages that were always there but drowned out by the cacophony of the world. It is in these moments that we can attune our hearts to a higher frequency, perceiving God's voice with greater clarity. Isolation creates a fertile ground for introspection, helping us examine our lives and priorities with an unfiltered lens. Isolation often reveals our dependence on external validation. When we are surrounded by others, it is easy to measure our worth by their approval, encouragement, or criticism. However, when those voices are silenced, we are compelled to confront a deeper truth. Our identity does not rest on human opinion but on divine affirmation. This realization, while humbling, is liberating. In isolation, we learn to anchor ourselves not in fleeting applause but in the unshakable love and purpose God has designed for us. There is also a profound refining process that occurs during isolation. Consider the image of a sculptor chiseling away at a block of marble. Each strike removes what is unnecessary, revealing the masterpiece hidden within. Similarly, seasons of solitude allow God to remove the clutter in our lives, fear, pride, selfishness, or doubt, that prevents us from fulfilling our potential. This process is not always comfortable. In fact, it often feels painful as we let go of habits, relationships, or mindsets we once clung to. But just as the sculptor's chisel is guided by vision, so too is God's hand in our transformation. It is also important to recognize that isolation, though difficult, is not a punishment. Many biblical figures experienced profound moments of isolation before stepping into their greatest calling. Moses spent years in the wilderness before leading his people to freedom. David was anointed as king yet spent time alone in the fields as a shepherd. Even Jesus retreated to the desert to fast and pray before beginning his public ministry. These examples illustrate that isolation is often a prelude to something extraordinary. It is a time of preparation, a season where God equips us with the strength, wisdom, and clarity needed for the path ahead. Isolation allows us to develop resilience and reliance on God. When we are stripped of the safety nets we so often rely on, we are forced to trust in something greater than ourselves. This reliance fosters a deeper faith, one that is not contingent on circumstances but rooted in an unwavering confidence in God's goodness. As we navigate the valleys of solitude, we discover a strength within ourselves that we did not know existed, a strength that is born of faith and sustained by grace. Finally, isolation gives us the opportunity to realign with our true purpose. In the busyness of life, it is easy to lose sight of what truly matters, becoming entangled in pursuits that do not satisfy our souls. Solitude provides the space to pause, reflect, and recalibrate. It is a divine invitation to refocus our hearts and minds on the mission we were created for. This realignment may involve letting go of old dreams or ambitions and embracing a new vision that aligns with God's plan. The role of pain and solitude in transformation. Pain and solitude are among life's most profound teachers. Though they are often unwelcome companions, they possess a transformative power that few other experiences can match. When we find ourselves in moments of isolation, where the ache of loneliness seems unending, we are also standing at the threshold of a deeper understanding of ourselves and the purpose behind our struggles. These moments, though difficult, act as crucibles in which character is forged and clarity is gained. Pain has a way of stripping away pretense. In times of comfort and ease, it is easy to wear masks or build our lives around illusions. But when pain enters the picture, it forces us to confront reality in its rawest form. It exposes our vulnerabilities, our weaknesses, and our need for something greater than ourselves. While this exposure can be uncomfortable, it is also profoundly liberating. It is in these moments that we begin to understand who we truly are, not as the world defines us, but as we are in the quietness of our hearts. Similarly, solitude amplifies this process of self-discovery. When the noise of the world fades away, we are left with nothing but our thoughts and emotions. At first, this can feel overwhelming, as we are confronted with parts of ourselves we may have ignored or avoided. However, solitude also provides the space for us to process these feelings and gain insights that might otherwise remain hidden. It is in this quietness that we can reflect on our lives, our choices, and the direction we are headed. This reflection is not just an exercise in introspection but an essential step toward transformation. The combination of pain and solitude often acts as a catalyst for growth. Much like a seed buried in the earth must break apart to sprout, we too must endure a breaking process to grow. This breaking is not a sign of failure but a necessary part of transformation. It is through the cracks in our lives that light enters, illuminating the path forward. Pain may feel like an ending, but in truth, it is often a beginning, the starting point of a journey toward healing, growth, and renewal. In these moments of solitude, we are also given the opportunity to deepen our connection with God. When we are surrounded by the distractions of life, it can be difficult to hear His voice or feel His presence. But in the stillness of solitude, we can turn our attention fully to Him. Pain, though unwelcome, often brings us to our knees, reminding us of our dependence on Him and drawing us into a closer relationship. It is in these quiet moments that we can pour out our hearts, seek His guidance, and find comfort in His promises. Pain and solitude also have a way of reshaping our perspectives. When we are in the midst of suffering, it is easy to focus on what we have lost or what we lack. But as we journey through these experiences, we begin to see them in a new light. We start to recognize the strength we have gained, the lessons we have learned, and the ways in which we have been shaped by our trials. Perhaps one of the most profound aspects of pain and solitude is their ability to foster empathy. When we have walked through the valley of suffering, we are better equipped to understand and support others who are going through similar experiences. Our own struggles become a source of strength for others, enabling us to offer comfort, encouragement, and hope. In this way, our pain becomes not just a personal experience but a shared one, a bridge that connects us to others and deepens our sense of compassion. Faith is a beacon in the dark. Faith, by its very nature, shines brightest in the midst of darkness. It is easy to trust when life is smooth, relationships are thriving, and plans are unfolding as expected. However, it is during moments of isolation and despair, when uncertainty clouds the path ahead, that faith reveals its true power. These moments challenge us to believe in what we cannot see, to trust in a divine purpose even when our circumstances seem to suggest otherwise. Faith becomes the compass that guides us through the fog, offering hope and direction when all else feels uncertain. Isolation often brings with it a sense of abandonment. We may feel as though we are drifting, unnoticed, and forgotten. Yet faith reminds us that we are never truly alone. It calls us to trust in God's omnipresence and His unwavering love, even when our emotions and circumstances try to convince us otherwise. Faith whispers that God is at work in the silence, orchestrating plans for our good and His glory. This trust requires courage, for it means surrendering control and believing that there is a purpose beyond what we can presently understand. In times of darkness, faith acts as a stabilizing force, anchoring us when everything around us feels unstable. Life's storms can be overwhelming, threatening to capsize our sense of peace and purpose. Yet faith serves as an anchor, grounding us in the truth of God's promises. It reminds us that no storm is too great for Him to calm and that even the most tumultuous seas are under His control. This assurance does not necessarily remove the storm, but it equips us to endure it with resilience and hope. Faith also provides clarity amidst confusion. When we find ourselves in the wilderness of life, with no clear direction or answers, faith becomes the light that illuminates the next step. It teaches us to trust in God's guidance, even when we cannot see the entire path. This trust is not blind optimism but a confidence rooted in God's character and His faithfulness throughout history. Just as a traveler relies on the glow of a lantern to navigate through the night, so too can we rely on faith to guide us through life's uncertainties, one step at a time. In isolation, it is easy to focus on what we lack or the difficulties we face. Yet faith shifts our gaze upward, reminding us of God's power, provision, and presence. It encourages us to see our trials not as pointless suffering but as opportunities for growth and transformation. Faith reframes our challenges, enabling us to view them through the lens of purpose and possibility rather than despair and defeat. Faith also fosters patience, a virtue that is often tested in seasons of waiting and uncertainty. Isolation can feel interminable, a stretch of time where nothing seems to change or improve. Yet faith teaches us that waiting is not wasted time. It is a period of preparation, a chance for God to work in us and through us in ways we may not immediately perceive. This patience is not passive but active, marked by trust, prayer, and a readiness to respond when the time is right. Faith strengthens our relationship with God. In moments of struggle, we are drawn into deeper reliance on Him. We learn to lean on His wisdom rather than our own, to seek His strength when ours is depleted, and to find comfort in His presence when all else feels uncertain. This deepening relationship is one of the greatest gifts of faith, for it reminds us that we are not walking through life's challenges alone. God is with us, guiding us, and sustaining us every step of the way. Faith inspires hope. Even in the darkest seasons, faith assures us that light will come. It reminds us of God's promises, of His ability to bring beauty from ashes and joy from mourning. This hope is not wishful thinking but a confident expectation rooted in God's character and His faithfulness. It empowers us to press on, to persevere, and to trust that the story is not over. Darkness may endure for a night, but faith reminds us that joy comes in the morning. The refining power of isolation. Isolation often feels like an unwelcome interruption in the flow of life, a lonely wilderness where purpose and connection seem distant. Yet, it is in these very moments of solitude that a profound transformation takes place. Just as raw materials undergo intense refinement to achieve their highest potential, isolation serves as a crucible in which our character, values, and purpose are shaped and strengthened. Far from being a punishment, it is a process of preparation that removes what is unnecessary and reveals what is truly essential. Consider the way metals are refined. Gold, for example, must endure the heat of the furnace to separate impurities from its pure form. Without this refining process, the gold would remain tainted and far less valuable. Similarly, Isolation applies a kind of pressure that exposes areas in our lives that need attention: pride, fear, doubt, or unhealthy attachments. These impurities may go unnoticed in the hustle and bustle of daily life, but in solitude, they rise to the surface. This exposure, though uncomfortable, is necessary for our growth and transformation. In the absence of external noise, we are left with the raw reality of our inner selves. This stillness can feel unsettling, as it forces us to confront thoughts and emotions we might otherwise suppress. However, it is also an opportunity to gain clarity. Without the constant pull of external obligations and opinions, we can reflect on our true priorities and align our lives with what truly matters. This realignment is not always easy, but it is essential for becoming the people we are meant to be. Isolation also fosters resilience. When we are stripped of the safety nets and support systems we typically rely on, we are compelled to find strength within ourselves. This does not mean we are entirely self-sufficient, but it does mean that we discover an inner fortitude we might not have realized we possessed. The challenges of isolation test our endurance, patience, and ability to persevere, shaping us into stronger, more steadfast individuals. Each trial becomes a lesson, and each moment of struggle contributes to a deeper reservoir of strength that will serve us in future challenges. Isolation often leads to a clearer understanding of our purpose. In the busyness of everyday life, it is easy to lose sight of our calling, becoming distracted by pursuits that do not fulfill or align with our deeper goals. Solitude provides the space to step back, reflect, and reconnect with our sense of purpose. It is a time to ask important questions. What am I here for? What do I truly value? What legacy do I want to leave behind? These questions may not have immediate answers, but the process of exploring them is itself transformative. Another significant aspect of isolation is its role in deepening our dependence on God. When we are surrounded by people and distractions, we may unintentionally place our trust in things that are fleeting: relationships, achievements, or material possessions. Isolation strips away these false anchors, leaving us with no choice but to lean fully on God. This reliance fosters a deeper relationship with Him, teaching us to trust His guidance, provision, and timing. It is in these moments of dependence that we experience His grace and faithfulness in profound ways, building a foundation of trust that will sustain us through future trials. Isolation also teaches us the value of simplicity. In the absence of external pressures and societal expectations, we begin to see the beauty of a life that is not cluttered by unnecessary complexities. We learn to appreciate the small joys, to find meaning in the ordinary, and to focus on what truly nourishes our souls. This simplicity is not about a lack of ambition but about a deeper understanding of what brings genuine fulfillment. It is a refinement of our desires and priorities, aligning them with a higher purpose. Isolation cultivates humility. When we are left alone with our thoughts and struggles, we are reminded of our limitations and our need for grace. This humility is not about self-deprecation but about recognizing our dependence on God and the interconnectedness of all life. It fosters a sense of gratitude for the people and experiences that enrich our lives, even as we grow stronger in our ability to stand alone when necessary. The refining power of isolation lies in its ability to transform us from the inside out. It removes distractions, strengthens resilience, clarifies purpose, deepens our relationship with God, and teaches us humility and simplicity. Though the process is often difficult, the result is a life that is more aligned, more meaningful, and more reflective of the person we are called to be.